Okay, I'm here to talk a little bit about hook menu and how, okay, more like what to do without it in Drupal 8. A few words about myself. I'm Joonas Iivonen. I'm from EXO, where I do lots of stuff with PHP, Drupal, and also framework stuff. And EXO, we do different kind of open source web stuff to help our customers to make better business in internet. And we have offices in Helsinki, Oulu, Tallinn, and London. Designers, developers, etc. So, to Drupal. Just a little bit to check the backgrounds. How many of you have developed a module for Drupal? I hope so. How many of you have done that for Drupal 8? Not that many. How many have you checked how to do that for Drupal 8? Few more. Okay. So you probably, those who have checked module development for Drupal 8, you have noticed that there is a huge change of how we do stuff, because at least to me, hook menu has been, in a sense, quite core element, because it handles quite a lot of the routing and also the menu item things, and it has been there since forever, or at least I don't know which version, longer than I have been working with Drupal. But in Drupal 8, there is no more hook menu. The things are different, and what I'm trying to cover here is what things to look for and how to do things without hook menu. So, in Drupal 7, to get things like these, and to do this, and this, and even this, you wrote something like this. There is a couple of items in a hook menu, and it has menu items, it has callbacks, and it takes some arguments here and there, and then of course you have some code in the module file or somewhere else, which does something like this. So, in Drupal 8, to do this same stuff, it's almost looks same. What do you need? First of all, you have a routing.yaml, which has some stuff. You have menulinks.yaml, and then you have the code somewhere. Actually, now it's in a controller, which if you, for example, saw over here on the last slot where James was talking about the Twig extension, the controller was somewhere deep down there in the 7th folder or something like that. So, in a little bit more detail, the routing part. Routing is a system of which matches the path of the request to somewhere where there is a controller or something else which does the stuff we actually want it to happen. In Drupal 8, these parts are very much based on Symfony 2 components. And that's where we get the YAML. It's the module.routing.yaml file is in the root of the module directory, and it's basically it's very much same stuff that what we are used to have. It's there is a path, and oh yeah, I forgot my pointer. There is a path, and then there is some pointer to work with, and titles and stuff like that. And even when there are some parameters involved, it's there is same stuff like it used to be, in a little bit different format, a little bit different place, but very much same stuff. In a little bit more detail, this is the most, in a way, new stuff, I think. We actually have names for these routes we have here. It's not only the path to point out. Yeah, of course there has to be the path which to match. One thing to note here is that we have that name there. It's the wildcard, but it has the name which is taken as the name of the argument for the whatever controller there comes. Another recurrent stuff here is the content, or it can be also form or entity view or something else. That's the thing on the defaults which tells where to get the content to what we want to see, show or give out on the response. And yeah, and it has the namespace name of the of controller, which in this case, for example, it's a method in a class. It can also be something else. It can be a form. Then it's the namespace name of the form. It can be also an entity view, where it's the entity type, which is told, or entity, and which view mode of that we use, or something like that. There are a couple of few other options also. And hiding there behind that, there can be, for example, title, or in this case, there is a title callback, which is, again, the callback is, surprise, callable. And oh yeah, one more part which we need is requirements, where it's which tells who can access this route. And there are, again, a couple of ways of doing. It's the permission, which looks very familiar, I guess, for everybody. But there are other options also, like roles. We can use the entity's access rights if it's an entity-based route, and so on. Okay, so this is the very basic. This is what you saw in the normal hook menu, which is static thing in some configuration file, which stands there. It's read once and put into the database and stands there. And yeah, of course there's more. You will need dynamic routes once and all times. So to make dynamic routes, you need more configuration there in the routing YAML, which tells where to get the callback. Yep, it's again namespace path to somewhere, and that thing there needs to return either an array of Symfony component routing routes objects or a collection of those of that format. Currently, I think this is not that well documented about going to places like views. Gives nice examples of what to expect here, what kind of code, because yeah, views, for example, does lots of this. Okay, when we have different kinds of fruits, we probably need to change those in here and there. So, yeah, this is the, again, this is different thing than we are used to, because we are not using any hook alter things here, but we are going to this event subscriber and triggers thing. And for routing, there are routing events. We are configuring our root subscriber, which takes the routing collection and finds the route we are going to change, makes the changes, and returns to that. Again, views is a nice place to get some examples. And yeah, this thing is something which you, as Becky told earlier, it's almost like hooks, but much different kind of things than we are used to do in Drupal. But of course, this is clear stuff for when you have done some framework coding, for example, yeah, in Symfony 2. And looks like that, yeah, about, that's the very brief overview of how to handle routing. And yeah, the topic is hook menu. So there are something else than the routes to do, but now it's the time of truth. Actually, before making this presentation, I have never used hook menu to actually do menu items.
So what have you used instead?
The thing is that most of the systems I have been doing, there are not that much default menu things. I'm more application guy than a site guy. So, but yeah, there are menus. We need to do those, and definitely those exist. And the basic stuff goes the static menu items which you would do in the menu hook. Those are again in a YAML file, which is called menu link. If I understood correctly, this is very spotty in documentation and also in code, but you don't have actual good hooks to change those other than coding with the menu link module. What there is in that menu link YAML, it's the same stuff. There are names, titles as we used to, descriptions to go to the menu UI, and the thing, which is the most important thing, which route from the routing system, most probably in this case in a routing YAML, to point it. And the top thing here it doesn't have any. It doesn't say in which menu that item is, or it doesn't have a parent. That thing here is a child of the top one. But without the parent or menus told there in a menu link, it goes to the navigation menu, which actually is not anymore called navigation, it's called tools. Yes. Okay. Then other things which you can manage with hook menu are like local tasks, actions, contextual links. Surprise, surprise. There are more YAML files in your model directory, which are basically very much same stuff than the menu links thing. There are a little bit more parameters for those, but that's the basic thing. Okay, so to collect that, there are most of the static stuff of the hook menu things. They are going to the different YAML files, which are there in nicely there in the model root directory, and the routing YAML is very all the other parts, the menu links and local tasks, they point there. Also, your code most probably points to root names, which are defined there. The routes point to callables, forms, which are also in class format, and to alter routes, you use the event subscriber thing system. My bottom line here is that for these kind of things, that most of the time, I would say that what I have learned about Drupal 8 model development is it's very much same stuff than it used to be before. But there are those small things. There are the classes which are in the deep hierarchies. You need the namespaces, and lots of the documentation go to the YAML files. And yes, and then there are some places, there are still lots of hooks to use, and lots of those are like they used to be. But then in some places, there are these new Symfony kind of things like event subscription models and defining services, and which use the dependency injection stuff. So even though that you are not developing for the core, for the model development stuff, you need to start to learn something new. Not that much, but you don't need to understand full stack of HTTP kernel and stuff like that. But yep, actually, I was probably talking very much too fast because we have much time left. So, comments, questions, please. Let's fill something here.
Actually, I have one comment about the kind of it was in the first view. A little bit back or forward, I mean. One back. So, do you know if actually these requirements can be used, like, can we use multiple requirements in root, for example, that for permission and a role?
No, actually, I can't remember. The documentation says at least one of these, so I guess it could use more, but does it do and or there? I haven't tried.
Yeah, it probably would make sense that it's and. If
Hopefully.
yeah.
Has anyone more insight on that?
No.
Yeah.
If you go, like, if you take that bubble away,
Yep.
yeah, so you have...
Actually, here it's
yeah,
more
so you
clear.
have the path there, and in hook menu you have, let's say, hello and then a percentage sign, right?
Yep.
That's your-
Actually, this is probably much better picture for your.
Yes. But in Drupal 7, for example, you can use hello and then percentage sign and node. So the system automatically
It loads the node.
Yes. So how do you do that same thing in Drupal 8? Do you have any insight on that?
And then give that to the
Yeah. So
as an argument to the some function. Yeah.
yeah. So in D7, the menu magic automatically validates and loads the given thing. For example, in node.
Of course, there are the other kinds of content which doesn't then point to the some method or other callables which would do that that easily, but that's not the thing you are asking. I have to say that I didn't check that, but there are actually several different. Yeah.
I kind of have a hunch that if you just use, for example, node or taxonomy underscore term, it will actually understand it. I think that would be cool.
What it does here, it takes that that name here. It's a name. it's the name of parameter for the call. Let's say where I have it here. Here, the name which was there in the parentheses. It's the same function parameter name as there. So if you had several those wildcards, they're named wildcards, and they can be in any order, and it matches with the names of the parameters there to get it there. And oh yeah, the detail which I run over. Let's go backwards then, because I have it here. So to demonstrate the something I had in this Drupal 7 code, there is a Drupal set title there to get the message also into the title, not only on the content. And that's the thing which you can now handle very much more in detail and more flexibility, because you can here in the routing you can have, of course, there can be title like that, which is just a string as it used to be, but you can also have a title callback, which is some callable somewhere which does the magic. And basically that does the same thing. But yeah, the loading node, because that routing thing there doesn't exactly know anything about nodes. Yeah. Maybe we have lost something here.
Could be, or there may be a like populate or something like that?
Yeah, there are several options for that default thing, the content.
Yeah.
There are a couple of which are not documented that much. So I hope that one of those has something to help on that thing.
Because it would be really cool if you could actually say in the control method that we only accept nodes, and if you try to give me something else, it's just like a fatal.
Yeah. And do that without having a block of code there in the start of the controller.
Without validating all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you define like patterns that the path parameter must match, similar to like in Symfony 2 you can say I need an integer here. That's the, like if you have the name, you define this name must match some regex, for example.
Did it actually test that, but because this is so much directly from Symfony 2, I'm quite sure that you can do that there. So, yeah, checking that whatever there goes to the name is not whatever. Yep.
And can I return custom HTTP code for the last one row? If I want when some name come, but I don't want to return user any content, can I return just 404 HTTP code?
Oh, sorry, now, can you repeat that? So.
You probably need to define a response object and return. Yeah, he's asking, I guess, how to return custom HTTP code, for example, 404.
Oh, yeah. Let's go to where I have some code here. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the default the content type of it, like it was here in here it's a content, so that callable returns a renderable array like that, which but you can also have instead of content, you can have their, I think it's controller. Yeah, controller, which then can do whatever kind of magic, and then you can there define the response object, which then is the Symfony HTTP response object, where you can define the what's the return value on the HTTP level and other stuff. You can do much more different stuff than on the content, where you are expected to return that array, which is then rendered after that. It returns from the as a content here. So there's lots of this kind of difference that in many cases, when the content in Drupal 8 it's those arrays which are rendered later on somewhere, not that much of returning HTML blocks. Okay. So.
Do you like this feature in Drupal 8? Do you like this feature? I mean, comparing the previous structure with hook menu. I mean, some people are complaining about this, so I want my hook menu where
Yeah.
my hook menu?
Yeah, it's definitely different kind of solution, and you end up of writing lots of YAML, not that much PHP code. And I personally, I think it's a little bit, at least at this point of time, I like it more because it's more like you are defining routes here, you are doing the other stuff here and the menus here and the local tasks here, and it's more divided in a coherent places. And of course, and that thing that you name the routes and you can point those in several places. It's more like, because most of that stuff is very static and it's more configuration than actual code. So in that sense, I like it more. Then again, yeah, it's a little bit here and there. So the it's the difference that's crazy. I'm not sure, but let's say at this time I like it more. Yeah.
Yeah, actually about the entities in the
Loading entities.
yeah, it's actually it's possible. So basically, if you use entity type in the brackets, it will be automatically assumed to be that entity. And if you have, for example, let's say you have some custom non-entity, but it should be some kind of object that is created or checked on the fly, there is this YAML parameter called converters, where you can actually
Okay.
apply your own custom converters. So
Okay.
that should be fine.
Thanks.
Can you use other kind of configuration file types other than YAML? Like in Symfony, you can use XML or plain PHP arrays also. Do you know?
I'm not sure. Every place uses YAML currently, and all the documentation says. I haven't gone through the code and check if it can load something else. Then again, I personally like YAML much more than XML for this kind of configuration. So, and I also like it more than having some kind of PHP code to do that. So it's much better for configuration. So if it's only way, I approve that. Okay.
So one question.
Okay.
Do you know if, for example, IP level banning could be done before ending up the menu worker? Because a few months ago it wasn't really possible, and there's ban module in core, and it was broken up.
Sorry, I can't say no.
With D7 you can use boot before menu worker.
Yeah.
This is more of a situation.
Yeah, it's I sure hope that there is some way, because this is, in a way, this is, again, we are just configuring here routes. There's somewhere else the place which manages this routing system, which from the system. Yeah. Okay. If not anything else, then let's end it here and wait for a while to the closing session. Thanks.